Okay. Good evening to all the participants. We are starting a new week.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening. Good evening.
Good evening, sir.
Okay. So let's talk today about development and sustainable development goals. Now, actually, this was required to be done, and thanks to Partha for bringing this into notice that we need to understand the entire dynamics of development, because until unless we understand the dynamics of development, we will not be able to understand the issue of justice, poverty, and poverty elimination. So in that regard, we are going to open up this topic in more broader detail. And this will be helping you in what connecting with what various efforts, global efforts, as well as what various schemes and programs of Government of India. So that means this is going to give you a wider perspective. And that wider perspective will also be helping us in what decoding other issues of justice and empowerment. So on this note, let's start the class today. So Mugilan, I hope it's properly audible.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you, Mugilan. Now, first of all, with respect to the assignments that I gave you, the last date for submission of assignment is last day of each month. Yes, that is 31st of July. So that means all the assignments, if you are writing, then please submit by 31st of July. Then I will be checking all those assignments and you will be getting a checked copies by the post in the month of August. So that means this is the way we are going to what work out. Yes, your submission and you will be getting your checked answer copies. Very clear. So that means 4 assignments will be there in a month. That means one weekly assignment per week. That means if you want to try all four, definitely you should be trying all four. But what are the questions you are comfortable in? Just submit your assignments by the end of the month. Clear? And yes, the email ID, I again share the email ID. So email ID is management shield @ gmail.com. @gmail.com. So management shield @gmail.com is the special what email ID for the submission of your assignments. So management shield. Okay, so let's understand about the real meaning of development. So let's talk about development. So development have got various connotations. Now, for various people, development can be a muddy road converted into a paved road. Is that development? For many people, a kacha house becomes a pakka house is development. For many people, just for industry, which may be highly polluting, is still a development. That means when we talk about development, everyone have got their own idea with respect to what constitutes development. But here, rather than thinking about the term development subjectively or the case to case, yes, we have now come into an overview. What is the real meaning of development on the basis of sustainable development goals? Now, how this real meaning of development emerged in the concept, yes, or in the mindset of the entire global community. How these 17 SDGs emerged. Because there would have been what various problems which we created for ourselves on the basis of what lesser understanding about the meaning of holistic development. Now, let's start with what industrial revolution. Yes, industrial revolution. So, what was the meaning of development at that time, or maybe till the major part of the 20th century, till the 20th century? Now, development, when we see from the perspective of industrialization and GDP. So, here, for many people, the meaning of development is more and more industrialization. That means it should be increasing, yes, industrialization. Now, many people see this from the perspective of GDP growth. So more and more industrialization or industrialization model adopted by various countries, more industries, more industries, more industries, more production, more production, more production, more GDP growth, more GDP growth. Actually, that was seen majorly as a development. But now, this development has got the negative side also. So this has led to what? Huge resource depletion. This has led to resource depletion. This has led to enormous pollution, the pollution of air, land, water bodies. It has further led to, it has further led to what? Issue of the planet or the health. Yes, what we call it, the health of the planet came into question mark. The health of the planet became an issue, and that brought into question of our overall survival. Yes, our overall survival. So that means majorly the world is focusing or has focused on what? Industrialization as a way of showing development to the masses. And it has also led in terms of what? GDP fascination. But pursuing of what this type of growth has led to what? Enormous reverses also. Reverses means huge destruction to the resources available, the problem we have created with respect to pollution, and also the stability of the planet itself. That means our survival is at stake. So now, so what the development should now include? The development should now include, so this on the other side should also be taking care of the survival of the planet and make it more sustainable. So development does not mean economic growth. So development means economic growth plus sustainability. Economic growth plus environmental sustainability. Now, this meaning has emerged for development. Economic growth plus environment sustainability. Now, and the problem this one-sided GDP growth and industrialization has created is now the problem for the social welfare or the human welfare. So first of all, problem for the planet is environment. Hence, now the requirement is economic growth combined with environment sustainability. Now, next problem it created. Now, this has what given rise to what? Capitalism, yes, where the entire focus is just profit. It has led to what? Concentration of wealth. Concentration of wealth. On the other side, on the other side, on the other side, this has led to exploitation of labor, poor wages, lack of welfare for workers, lesser social responsibility, lesser social responsibility, then forced migration. There's a term called modern day slavery, where the work is now more of contractual in nature with no benefits, contractual work with no benefits. And even in various work, it's gender disparity. Gender disparity. That means first, on the other side, this faster industrial growth has led to the creation of what? Few big capitalists, which have definitely led to what? Huge concentration of wealth. On the other side, the utilization of the resources by exploiting the planet and the utilization of the labor of the workforce by exploiting the humans, they have amassed huge wealth. Yes. That means exploitation labor, poor wages, lack of welfare, lesser social responsibility, forced migration, modern day slavery type of what work been extracted from the people, and gender disparity. So this has led to what? This has led to what? Lack of human welfare. Lack of human welfare or social welfare. So hence, what is the new demand from the development? The new demand from the development is, yes, it should also be taking care of social welfare. This is a new demand that is emerging. Means taking care of human development, human welfare. So social welfare, this is now coming into picture. So in the previous slide, we came to know that the development should also be including environment sustainability. Now, the demand is also coming that the economic growth should be accompanied by social welfare, in which the big business, big capitalists, big corporate should also be contributing social welfare. Now, as this is still not happening in what major countries or in major businesses, that has led to what enormous conflicts. So now, this type of one-sided development has led to conflicts now. And the problem which has been created by this type of one-sided growth is conflicts. Now, let's see the conflicts of different types. So conflicts like, now, capitalism versus communism. So first of all, the ideological conflict. Ideological conflict, which became the trigger points for major wars across the world. Trigger point for various wars across the world. The Vietnam War, the Afghan War, the Middle Eastern wars, yes. So various wars were the root cause of what ideological fight between two groups, capitalism versus communism. Now, this has also led to conflicts between the first form of conflict between now capitalists versus workers or the working class, which has led to what violent protests, okay, strikes or complete lockdowns. That means continuous struggle between the working class and the capitalist class. So this has been another form of conflict. Now the next conflict which is emerging is, now as the resource area or the resource rich areas are in the hand of the indigenous communities. That means now that extraction of resource has brought the big companies and corporations direct conflict with the tribals. The third set of conflict is the capitalists versus indigenous communities. Indigenous communities. Now, this has been the case worldwide. In India, this has given rise to a conflict called Naxalism. Now, another conflict which is going on is, there are various big businesses and certain heads of the state which say there is no climate change. On the other side, the world is agreeing that there is a climate change. Hence, the people who are saying no climate change, they still want to use the fossil fuel to the maximum extent because that is generating profit to them. So now again, the new conflict that is emerging between, yes, the fossil fuel, yes, supporters versus the climate change activism. The fossil fuel supporters versus climate change activism. So what we are finding here is, the current model of development that we had created right from the start of the industrial revolution, yes, has led to certain problems. First is threat to planet. Human conflicts, lack of welfare, and still struggling to move towards a green economy, because there are still various economies who want to use their coal resources, who want to use their oil resources, and which is being supported by big oil giants and big fossil fuel generating companies, power companies. So threat to planet, human conflicts, lack of welfare, and struggling to move towards a green economy. Now, all these has resulted in now one thing, a bigger consciousness that this is not the way the world should be working. So this is not the way the world should be working. Hence, we have to create a system in which the economic growth should be accompanied by social welfare and environment sustainability. So now, so the new thought, which is now being emerging across the world and which has been promoted now through various agencies, global agreements like Paris climate agreements or the agreements which produce what sustainable development goals is that now the economic development should include planet and should include people. Economic development should be inclusive of what? Welfare of the planet and welfare of the people. And this also gives rise to a thing called, with respect to the corporates, triple bottom line approach. Triple bottom line approach. This is actually with respect to the corporates, how they should be doing, but actually this is with respect to the entire actions by the governments and the communities. That whatever the economic development which is being created by the government support, which may give rise to big business, should ultimately be creating better planet sustainability and should also be ensuring more inclusive human development. So that means triple bottom line approach. That means, okay, profit is the sole criteria of business, but that profit should also be bringing stability of the planet. It should be bringing consciousness of planet conservation also, and also the welfare of the people. So 3P approach, 3Ps approach. Profit, planet, and concern for the people, welfare of the people. Equitable development or inclusive development. Now, all these three major things now are the key focus areas of SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals. I hope introduction is very clear. Okay, now, so let's talk about, so this is an introduction that you can write in the examination with respect to the concept of the development. Now, let's see the theoretical part, which is there in the notes. For example, what are SDGs? Sustainable Development Goals are a set of 17 global goals established by United Nations as a part of 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. So, these goals provide a comprehensive framework. That means a very broad-based framework. Now, what we were discussing, it should be including social dimension, economic dimension, and environmental dimension to achieve a sustainable future for all. Now, SDG is an advanced version of Millennium Development Goals, which came in the year 2000. So, it's the advanced version. So, MDGs came in 2000. Yes, so it included 8 international development goals. So, SDG have got 17. SDG have got 17. Now, through SDGs, what the world is supposed to address? Through SDGs, the world is supposed to address various interconnected issues like poverty eradication, education, health, gender equality. So all these are focusing towards what? Human welfare. Gender equality, again, human welfare. Clean energy, environmental protection, and sustainable economic growth. It is focusing towards, yes, planet also. And sustainable economic growth means also profit. Yes, also profit. Also profit. So hence these are the frameworks which should be bringing all the stakeholders together for a uniform action. Now, the SDGs provide a holistic framework for whom? For whom? For the governments, businesses, the civil society organizations, and the individuals. And whenever we talk about development of any kind, whenever we talk about governance changes of any types, we have to include the government, we have to include the business, we have to include the civil society or community organizations, and definitely all the individuals. Okay, So these are the four major stakeholders to work together towards a more equitable, inclusive, and sustainable world. Equitable and sustainable, so SDGs. Achieving these goals require what? What we expect? Collective actions. That means international collaboration. National level collaboration can be, we use a term called cooperative federalism. International agreements and collaborations, cooperative federalism within the country. Then we talk about then the local self-government, which should be highly empowering the local communities. Inclusive in terms of what? Opinions they should be getting, okay, the feedback they should be getting. So we should be creating a system in which everyone is interacting with each other. So strong institutions are required at different levels. So collective actions, and this is through strong institutions. So strong institutions can be global, can be national, can be involving our provinces and states or regions, can be of what? District level, and reaching till village level. That means we have to integrate these efforts. Strong institutions, global, national, provincial level, district level, and village level. Innovative approaches. That means what we should be promoting? Ideas, innovations. So ideas means here, what is the meaning here is best practices. Ideas here is best practices should be promoted. Best practices should be promoted. And strong partnership. We need to seek what? More stakeholders. Okay. So strong partnership means seeking more stakeholders. Now, so and the interesting thing is how these are being framed. All these 17 goals are interconnected. That means progress in one goal will lead to progress in others. So that means it is going to, they are going to create chain reactions. All these are interrelated. The SDGs recognize the integrated nature of sustainable development and call for collaborative, holistic approaches to achieve a more inclusive and sustainable world. So let us understand now all these goals one by one. Okay, let us understand all these goals one by one. So when we see, so all these are 17 what SDGs, sustainable development goals. Let's see them one by one. Okay, now, so first requirement is abolition of poverty. Now, how these goals are interconnected? When you reduce poverty, when you abolish poverty, definitely you will be able to eradicate hunger. You will be able to, improve health. That means improve health, because poverty means money in the hands of the people. Money in the hands of the people will reduce hunger, will bring what? Better access to health, will bring better access to what? Education. Now, education in the families and good nutrition and health will be creating gender balance also, because the girls will also be educated, girls will also be fed well, nutrition level of the girls will also be rising. That means it will lead to gender equality. Now, further, to maintain health, what is required? Sanitation. To maintain health standards, clean water and sanitation is required to maintain health standards. Now, further, energy. Now, clean energy also brings what? Health benefits. For example, if biomass is being burned or fuel wood is being burned by the women to cook, is replaced by a clean gas, yes, or a gas connection, will definitely help in what? Improving their health standards. Interlinked. Now, if the people are able to feed themselves well, if the people are able to educate themselves well or maintain their health standards, what is also required by the people is a decent work. So work is required for people. Work is required for incomes. Decent work and economic growth. So that means goal number 8 is talking about decent growth and decent work and economic growth. That means livelihoods. That means earning opportunities. Now, livelihoods and earning opportunities will be ending the prevalence of poverty, will increase the purchasing power, and definitely the purchasing power will be helping the people to improve their quality of life. So now decent work economic growth is required, but what is also required is industry, innovation, and infrastructure. Now, why industry and innovation? Now, why innovations? Because we are living in 21st century world that technology is making a bigger impact. That means we should be evolving our what working methods. New skills are required to be taught to the people so that they remain employable, yes, for a longer duration of time. So industry, innovation, infrastructure, that is innovations. Innovations will lead to skill development of the people, and this will lead to employability. And this will lead to employability. So innovations for regularly improving the way of doing things. Innovations require technology and environmental sustainability. But for that, we have to train the people how to use those innovations. Hence, skill development becomes a major thing so that the people remain employable. Now, further, all till 10, yes, which is talking about reduce inequalities. So all these will lead to reduce inequalities. All these will lead to economic inequalities when we abolish poverty, reduce hunger, health, education, gender equality, access to sanitation, clean energy, work, and innovations, means making the people empowered regularly. This all will reduce inequalities. Now, after reducing inequalities, which is the first requirement for making people capable, now what is the next requirement? Next requirement is all the work that we have generated for the people, all the welfare that we have generated for the people should be sustainable. Hence, for sustainability, what is the requirement is sustainable cities and communities, responsible consumption so that the planet is also getting the benefit. Sustainability, climate action is required for sustainability. Life below water, that is under sea, or means underwater surface water bodies, which are inland water bodies that have to be protected. Life on land to be protected. So let's see the connections again. To reduce the poverty, we have to increase the income level of the people, provide various social and financial assistance. That will help in improving the the nutritional condition, health condition, education condition, will help in promoting more gender equality because girls and other genders will also be getting the benefit of education. Further, clean water and sanitation to maintain the health standards, affordable and clean energy again to maintain the health standards, and various local energy can be produced locally, green, hence reducing the cost also, creating regular work, hence empowering the people, regularly innovating and skilling the people, hence regularly empowering the people, leading to 10, that is reduce inequalities. Now that reduce inequality should be in tune with what? Sustainability. Hence 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 are talking about sustainability. Very clear? Now, this will bring peace. This has more chances of bringing justice. And yes, to apply, we require strong institutions. Institutions, international, national, regional, district, and village level. And those institutions should be working with the spirit of partnership. Working with the spirit of partnership. Very clear? Now, so there's a huge interconnection between all these 17 goals. Now, let's talk about the goals one by one. So what is the first goal is? No poverty. The first goal is no poverty. So should we sustain poverty? No, absolutely no. Now, when we talk about 80 crore people depend on rations in India, should be sustained? No. What we should be increasing? We should be increasing their earning potential by creating livelihoods so that they are able to earn their bread and butter on their own, and also try to increase their purchasing power so the economy also get benefits. So here what we need to add on? We need to add income. We have to add incomes. So that they try to improve their own quality of life, and definitely can lead to, yes, improvement in purchasing power. And this purchasing power help in what? Better holistic development of both economy and jobs. Yes. For this, elimination of poverty is a is a must requirement, Hence, bringing people out of poverty should be sustained. What should be sustained is not the people in poverty should be sustained, but regularly bringing the people out of poverty, that should be sustained. So hence, there's a big yes for that. Why? Because empowered citizen is a sign of a successful democracy. We want empowered citizens, not dependent citizens. Now, what are the key areas which have been focused in the guideline number 1 or the goal number 1? The key areas which have been focused. First is eradicate extreme poverty for all people everywhere. That means what should be achieved? That means people should not be earning less than $1.25 a day, should not be earning less than. So that means extreme poverty. Yes, Partha?
So this $1.25 is again based upon the calorific intake thing. It's hunger-based poverty, or is it something?
Repeat. Your voice is not coming clear.
Okay, sir, am I audible? Am I better
yes,
now?
Yes.
Yeah, sir, I'm asking this $1.25 has been calculated based upon the hunger estimates, hunger estimate to poverty, or is it the basic need and requirement to run a daily life?
Basic need and requirement, which includes hunger. Yes, basic needs.
Okay. Not just hunger, right, sir?
Not just hunger.
Like electricity and everything.
This should
else.
be the bare minimum, yes, which the people should be crossing.
Okay.
This is the bare minimum threshold which the people should be crossing.
Okay, got it. Thank you, sir.
Now that means, for example, let me give more elaborate about answer to Partha. This is the at least minimum threshold of income they should be generating per person. Now, if this minimum threshold is supported by nutrition programs by the government, yes, this means what? They will be saving on the nutritional thing which they have to buy. This means the amount this thus generated, they will be using somewhere else for other consumption. Very clear? Okay, now. So first of all, the extreme poverty.
So one doubt.
Yes.
So am I audible?
Yes, sir.
So can we add in universal basic income in this part, or would that come under equality of income?
See, universal basic income can be one of the steps in dealing with extreme poverty. Yes. So you can definitely add, but we should be adding a way how to add that or how to calculate that. Yes. Okay. And how to apply that. So your suggestion is right, because in order to deal with extreme poverty, universal basic income can be one of the steps. But when to apply that step and when to withdraw that step is also very important. Okay. Because rather than making people dependent forever on what universal basic income, we are going to give them pocket money, and the people are becoming addicted to pocket money. So for example, your parents give you pocket money. So once the parents withdraw your pocket money, you become angry with your parents. Okay. So the same thing should not be happening with the people. Yes, that is required for survival, but when to apply and how to withdraw, that also be taken into consideration. Okay. So we'll be working out the method. So thank you for suggestion, Sai. Yes, UBI can be one of the ways of what dealing with extreme poverty. Now further, reduce poverty by at least 50%. Now what type of poverty we are talking about reducing by 50% is multi-dimensional poverty. Multi-dimensional poverty. Now, the first extreme poverty we are linking with what? Income poverty. Okay. And here we are talking about reducing multi-dimensional poverty. So every year there's a multi-dimensional poverty index comes. Now, what is the meaning of that? So reduce at least by half the proportion of men, women and children of all ages living in poverty in all its dimensions according to a national definitions. But here, what we are talking about? Multi-dimensional poverty. So what is the meaning of MPI or multi-dimensional poverty? A person who is poor can suffer multiple disadvantages at the same time. For example, they may have poor health, lack of clean water, poor quality of work, or little schooling. Therefore, focusing on just one factor such as income is not enough to capture the true reality of poverty. So that means income. So income is not the requirement. Basic minimum existence can be there on the basis of UBI also, on the basis of cash transfers also, on the basis of other direct benefit transfers being added. But here, what is also required is human development is also required rather than just what reducing income poverty. Because there's other poverty, education poverty is there, health poverty is there. Now, hence comes into picture MPI index, multidimensional poverty index. The global multi-poverty poverty index is released by, first of all, UNDP and Oxford Poverty and Human Development Initiative. It measures health, education, and standards of living that directly affect a person's life and well-being. So, multi-dimensional poverty includes health, education, and standards of living. So, there are three major categories here. So, health, education, and standards of living. And here the indicators can be nutrition, child mortality, schooling, okay, then electricity, drinking water, all these type of things which improve the standards of life. So we have to reduce the multidimensional poverty, that is by half, yes, till 2030 across the world. Now, next requirement is implement social protection systems. Now, to eliminate poverty, there's a requirement of what? Social protection systems. Now, here social protection system. Now you can add on here social protection, UBI can be added, universal basic income can be added. Other forms of direct benefit transfers can be added. Maybe, yes, micro pensions for certain specific sections, extremely poor, women, elderly can be added. So that means implement social protection systems. The universal basic incomes for extremely poor, direct benefit transfers, which can be there linked with various what income activities also can be added. Pensions can be added for the differently abled, for the elderly, for the women, various pensions can be added. Now, what you're supposed to do is you will be trying to add the schemes in this regard. Yes. So schemes which are in place for working on all of these. So either what you can do is once you start working on these, try to search on the scheme on each and every bullet point, add on the schemes, the name of the schemes. Okay. So that will be your homework and exercise also. Yes. So try to add the schemes. Further, another thing that is required for reducing poverty is equal rights to ownership, basic services, technology. So there should not be technology poverty. Yes, there should not be resource poverty. Now, for example, we were talking about land, yes, all the land rights. So what we have done, abolition of zamindari, abolition of princely states, land ceiling, land redistribution. Now even what inheritance rights given to women in terms of what landed property. So now again, ensure that all men and women, in particular poor and vulnerable, have equal rights to economic resources. That is basic services. So basic services can be financial inclusion, ownership and control of land, inheritance, technology, that means filling the digital gap or promoting digital literacy so that the people are able to utilize their digital knowledge and skills to also get aware and also to get what way improve their earning potential. Okay. So digital literacy. That's why you can add on what Digital India program, okay, or the BharatNet, yes. Now, next requirement is build resilience to environmental, economic, and social disasters. Resilience. Now we know that environmental disasters can be creating more problems for the poor, deprived, and also on the basis of gender. Environmental disaster can be drought. Environmental disaster can be drying of water scarcity. And hence we have seen in the women issue or women topic that here it brings more burden on the women. Now more heating up of the planet. Again, here the major sufferers can be the women indoors. Okay. So environmental disasters, so building resilience. Economic problems can be concentration of wealth. Concentration of wealth, yes. So that means we need to promote what? Inclusive, yes. So what we should be promoting is inclusive growth. We should be helping the people to earn. Social disasters can be conflicts, that means communal conflicts, the caste conflicts, okay, which can lead to forced migrations. So social disasters. And when there are social disasters, when it lead to forced migration, it ultimately impact the income of the people, force them into poverty more. So note down social disasters like communal violence or caste violence or any form of what a racial violence can lead to forced migration, leading to more income poverty, leading to more income poverty. Now, next thing that is required for reducing poverty is what this point is saying: mobilize resources to implement policies to end poverty. Now, where to mobilize resources? It can be through our various international donations or loans, which can be through international financial organizations, or which can be through what loans, soft loans given by various countries, development assistance given by various developed world, or it can be through progressive taxation. Progressive taxation. So various countries have got progressive taxation where the rich are taxed more. Then even ensuring resource mobilization through CSR funds, corporate social responsibility funds, CSR funds. So that means borrowing from international financial institutions or maybe the soft loans given as a development assistance by various countries. We have better taxation, progressive taxation within the country, or that means the big corporates or companies should be promoting more welfare to CSR funds. That means mobilization of the funds now. And further, create pro-poor and gender-sensitive policy frameworks. So gender-sensitive policy, we use the term called gender-based budgeting. Gender-based budgeting. So gender-based budgeting. So that means we are talking about, so when talk of poverty. So what are the steps? First of all, extreme poverty should be eliminated. Multidimensional poverty should be reduced by half. Then comes social protection schemes, which can be UBI, which can be direct benefit transfers, which can be pensions, equal rights to ownership of resources and land, resilience to environment, economic and social disasters, mobilization of more funds, and use that funds in what? More pro-poor and for gender-based budgeting policies. Use that funds. I hope you got the interconnections, no poverty. Now, next step when we are going to reduce the poverty is, this should lead to what? Zero hunger. Now, zero hunger. So first of all, malnutrition, stunting, wasting, there should be a big no. All these should be eliminated. I hope you must be familiar with the words stunting and wasting. Now, what is required is adequate nutrition and nutritional balance. Now, when you talk about global hunger index, it is being contested by government of India that says that we provide food and rations to the people. But what we are providing only dry ration and mostly wheat and rice. But what we are not able to provide is nutritional balance. We are not able to provide proteins through pulses. That means here when you talk about nutritional poverty, it talks about the things which leads to malnutrition, undernutrition, yes, and stunting and wasting. So what we require is nutritional balance. So nutritional balance has to be promoted. And what is also required is improvement in ranking the global hunger index is also required. Further, now, so what is required is first of all, universal access to safe and nutritious food. That is why, yes, National Food Security Act becomes important, NFSA becomes important. A program like Anganwadi become important. in schools, MDM, midday meal become important. Then yes, PDS become important, public distribution system. And you must have heard about Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Anna Yojana. Okay. So it's Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Anna Yojana. So try to add up those schemes. Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan, GKAY, Garib Kalyan Anna Yojana. So all these type of things become important. Now, so what can be done is, for example, when we talk about the growing up years, we have to reduce malnutrition, stunting, and wasting. So what becomes important? Anganwadi and midday meal become important. So that means by allocating more budget to Anganwadi and midday meal, that means more nutritional supplements can be added. Okay, so you can add on by adding more budget to Anganwadi and midday meal, more nutritional supplements can be added for balanced nutrition. More nutrition supplements can be added for balanced nutrition, and hence reducing stunting, wasting, and malnutrition. And hence reducing stunting, wasting, and malnutrition. Okay, so hence this becomes the next target of universal access to safe and nutritious food, and all forms of malnutrition which is there among the children less than 5 years of age, all the nutritional requirements of the adolescents, pregnant and lactating women. So that means Anganwadi becomes important, a midday meal becomes important, and for older persons it is PDS and Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Anna Yojana. So what can be added is yes, we were talking about how to increase the pulses production in the country. Now the pulses are being produced in larger quantities and reduce the dependency on the imports. There can be a possibility of adding pulses also through PDS system. Now, next thing to ultimately reduce hunger is more food grain production. Okay, so what we are seeing is fragmentation of land has taken place. That means with every successive generation, fragmentation of land, that is land is becoming smaller. So what is the requirement is smaller land, smaller farmers, smaller producers, the productivity should be rising by providing additional benefits. So here the next requirement is double the productivity and the incomes of small scale food producers. So that means if we want to add on to the nutritional balance, we have to produce more. But on the other side, what we are seeing is there's most of the farmers are small and marginal. And even what we see, what the people who are running their fisheries or the aquaculture, there many of them are very small and marginal what people involved in such type of what production, food production. So what we need to do is we need to add on the benefits so that they are going to increase their production levels. For example, through secure and equal access to land, productive resources, inputs, knowledge, financial services, markets, and opportunities for value addition. For example, what a small and marginal farmer require? They may require access to what? Cheaper seeds. And this seeds is of better quality. Lower input costs. Better knowledge of farming practices. Or cheaper loans. Cheaper seeds of better quality, lower input cost, better knowledge of farming practices, cheaper loans. Then access to market. And yes, also to support the storing and selling, yes, later. So that means the storage systems. Storage systems. And one more thing may also be required. If the land is becoming too small, there's a requirement of what creating farmer groups or small producer groups, also creating what? Small producer groups. We'll talk about all these things when we discuss economy. Yes, small producers group. Small producer group. So this group can be working in the form of what? Joint ownership, joint profit, yes, joint labor. Yes. So small producer groups. So what is the first requirement? Is reduce what? All form of what? Provide nutritious food. Okay, reduce all forms of malnutrition. But for that, we need to add the nutritional balance in the food. For that, we have to increase the production level. Production level of what? Mostly small and marginal producers, which are more than 90%, that have to be improved. So sustainable food production and resilient agriculture practices. So resilient agriculture practices, which can be, yes, which can be moving towards what? Organic, which can be moving towards sustainable, can be water harvesting. Organic does not mean immediately purely organic, because it will lead to decline in production. So it also requires phase by phase what? Transition from chemical to what? Gradually adding the organic inputs in certain proportions, and then gradually increasing the proportion of the organic inputs, so that the soil is getting adjusted. Okay. So organic, water harvesting, now also what? Afforestation or green cover. So that means there was a concept of har made pe paid. Yes. That means the boundaries of the fields should have what? Plantations, which can be agroforestry. So that is drought proofing, adding to the organic content of the soil, humus content of the soil, water harvesting, and that means it will definitely be helping in reducing the cost also and making the agriculture more sustainable. So improving land and soil quality. See, all these things will be explained in detail when I explain agriculture in detail. But this is just a hint, just the hint at this moment. Now, another thing that is required is maintain a genetic diversity in food production. Now, rather than relying on what 2, 3, 4 species of food grains, we should be having genetic diversity, which can be traditional. Many of the farmers have got the knowledge of seed making. So that should be, so more seed vaults or seed banks are required. So that we call it what? Gene banks or the seed banks. Gene banks or seed banks are required. So invest in rural infrastructure. The most important rural infrastructure here that is missing is that of what? Variety of storage systems. Variety of storage systems to support the post-harvest requirement. So that means the food should not be wasted. The food grain should not be wasted. That wasted food grain is the loss in terms of value also, and in loss in terms of what? Creating what? More food scarcity. So hence the most important rural infrastructure is required is the storage systems. So that means what is the second goal is what? Reducing hunger. No poverty, hunger. Now next is, now when the hunger is reducing, poverty is going down, definitely health or the health quotient will be improving. So good health and well-being. So what is the requirement here is cost-effective and speedy healthcare. Actually, this can also be included as fundamental right. Now, as we converted right to education as a fundamental right, even we can convert right to health as also as fundamental right. So right to education was included in 21 as 21A. Maybe this can be added as 21B. Okay. So it depends upon how we are going to proceed on this. So right to health can also be there as a fundamental right. So hence, before making it a fundamental right, what should also be increased? The reach, efficiency, and effectiveness of the public health system and supportive private healthcare. Supportive private healthcare which can be accessed through insurance benefits. Supportive private healthcare, especially for tertiary healthcare, the private sector can be accessed through what? Insurance benefits. And what is also required is sustained increase in health budgets. India is one of the worst spenders on health. Yes. That means we should be increasing the health budgets. Major requirements now. So what is the target? Yes, what is the target to be achieved by improving the health standards and by promoting good health and well-being? First target is here. First of all, reduce maternal mortality, that is MMR. Now, what is your target is to achieve the maternal mortality across the world at a rate of 70 per 1 lakh birth. Yes, bringing it down to 70 deaths per 1 lakh live births. In India, we are at 103 as per 2020. Now, further, and all preventable deaths under 5 years of age. So, what are the preventable deaths? Preventable deaths can be due to malnutrition. This can be a preventable death. Common infections, which can lead to yes, maybe the jaundice, which can lead to high fever. Okay. So all these type of things, diarrhea. Diarrhea is one of the major killers. So, and all preventable deaths under the 5 years of age. So, good health and well-being. So, reduce MMR, and here also reduce what? IMR also, and under 5 years age mortality. Next, fight communicable diseases. Health is a major topic here, so we will do health separately with proper notes. Okay, health is a major topic, so this is just again the hint. We will do that in a proper notes form. So fight communicable disease. So what are communicable diseases which are mostly prevalent here in the tropical conditions, subtropical conditions which are there now? So for example, HIV/AIDS, tuberculosis. India is the major country still having the maximum number of TB cases and maximum number of deaths across the world. Malaria and NTDs. These are also becoming what noticed now. Neglected tropical diseases. Now, what are these neglected tropical diseases? Why they are called neglected? First of all, these are common in tropical areas where there are poor health and clean water is not available. Sanitation is not properly available, where the neglected tropical diseases are there. Why they are termed as neglected? Because there is a lesser research and lesser funding of these in dealing with those. So lesser research and lesser funds in dealing with this in comparison to the funds being provided to HIV/AIDS or funds being provided to tuberculosis or fighting malaria. So these diseases generally receive less funding for research and treatment than other tuberculosis. So example of entities can be, so there can be enormous snake bites in the country, and which is more in tropical areas, which can lead to deaths. Hence, there are various lesser facilities for antivenoms. Scabies, skin rash, yaws, also skin disease, trachoma is a problem of the eyes, and also skin ulcer. So that means these are the things which require again more focus, which are common in what? Tropical areas. But again, this will requiring more funding and budgeting. Next is also, so what we are talking about, reducing MMR, reducing IMR and under 5 age mortality, reducing what the problems created by the communicable diseases, and now the problem created by the non-communicable diseases. Non-communicable diseases that you all know, which can be due to stress or mental disorders, cancers, heart diseases. These are all non-communicable. Stress, mental disorders, cancers, heart disease, blood pressure, diabetes, So diabetes, BP. So all these are what non-communicable disease. So again, they require investment. Also prevent and treat substance abuse. That is drug addiction. Now, what are the ways of dealing with drug addiction?
So-
Drug,
Community-based counseling.
community-based counseling and interventions. Okay. We also talked about certain activities like
The
sports.
rehabilitation center.
Yes, rehabs are required. Did we talk about sports as a way of what de-addiction?
Yes, sir, we did.
Okay, then definitely the agencies, the narcotics control board, yes, all the or bureau. Okay, the agencies. So one is governance side, one is the community side, one is the rehab side. Yes. So one note down, one is the agency side. So agency side, one is the community intervention. So community intervention can be through counseling systems, through what de-addiction system in the form of what sports using as an activity to what divert the attention, involving the youth, and yes, the rehab centers. And yes, the rehab center should be also be well maintained, requiring budgetary support, funding support, contribution support. Now, for good health and well-being, what is also required is reducing road accidents. That is, India is very infamous for this. We have largest number of road accidents in the world and largest number of road accident deaths in the world. So around 1.5 lakh people die annually due to road accidents. And what is the best measure which is required for dealing with that? Traffic rules and regulations implementation. The most effective is properly applying traffic rules and regulations in this country. Rather than other interventions, first is preventive in nature. Traffic rules and regulations. Next is universal access to sexual and reproductive care, family planning and education. And universal health coverage. So that's why what we require is a low cost insurance is required. Now, which is now mostly now certain state governments are launching low cost insurance facilities, 25 lakhs, 30 lakhs, and the maximum premium about 2 to 3,000 per year. So low cost insurance is required for what? Maximum health coverage. So financial risk protection, that is low cost insurance. And here the state has to intervene. There's a role of the state welfare. That means broader coverage to insurance at lowest minimum premium price. Reduce illness and death from hazardous chemicals and pollution. So air pollution can be one of the categories, or the what contamination of groundwater or the surface water is the category. So again, taking actions. So contamination of groundwater, surface water, and air pollution, which creates for risks and what untimely deaths. Now this is one more. Implemented WHO framework convention on tobacco control. So what by doing all these type of things, we are creating very what safe, healthy human resource in the country. So what we are creating what safe and healthy human resource. That means this healthy resource is productive. Productive. That means healthy human resource means what we are also creating what? Reducing the pocket expense on health. So that means we reduce out of the pocket expense. We reduce out of the pocket expense. That means what we are preventing? We are preventing people falling into poverty or debt trap. Okay. So hence reduce out of pocket expense. So we reduce incidence of poverty. We reduce incidence of poverty. We reduce debt trap. because people tend to borrow money for seeking what expensive eh, healthcare. And next requirement is increase health financing and support health workforce in developing countries. Health workforce. Health workforce, we know ANM, auxiliary nursing, midwives, we are called them. So these are the health workers, ASHA workers, ANM. Other health staff in the primary health centers, community health centers, they require regular training. Deployment and training. Deployment and training is a regular requirement. And last thing, with the coming of the COVID, what we require across the world is early warning systems for global health risks. Yes, this is the another requirement. That means health and well-being contributes immensely to what making the community productive, people productive, reduce the expenses, prevent poverty, and also what convert them into quality human resource, which can contribute for their own welfare and for the welfare of the society, community, and the nation. That means enormous benefits. Quality education we have discussed a lot with respect to the education topic. Quality education is a basic right of every child. Yes. What should be done is more funding. So 6% GDP should be allocated to fund education. Yes. The policy emphasizes on that. And hence what is required is sustained increase in education budgets. That is the requirement. And what we have done in the education classes, we have done all of these. So we have done all of these. So what we have done? Free primary and secondary education. So here what becomes important? That's why it came into picture, right to education. And hence what we require? Public education system that is funded by the government. So primary and secondary education. Next, we are talking about equal access to quality pre-primary education. So pre-primary, we are talking about the foundational. And hence, what comes important again? Anganwadis. And this responsibility here is to provide funding, majorly going to the state governments to support that. Because right to education covers, yes, from primary to the middle classes. Then we have done this, build and upgrade inclusive and safe schools. We have done that. Increase the supply of qualified teachers. So regular what influx of teachers are required, training of teachers are required, capacity building so that they are able to deliver in multimodal methods. And then equal access to affordable technical vocational higher education. So we are talking about what to be done after universalization. We talked about universalization and specialization. So we discussed that till class 8th universalization is required. For this, these things are required. Then class 9th onwards, specialization is required. That is diversion as per the skills and the capacities of the students. Hence technical, vocational and higher education. Diversification. And we have taken the example of what Government of Delhi, yes, School of Specialized Excellence. Next is eliminate all discrimination in education. That means gender discrimination should not be there, or the class difference should not be there, caste difference should not be there. And what should be the end purpose of education? Sustainable development and global citizenship. That means we have to create global citizens, means most broad-minded people who can live in harmony with all existence, live in harmony with all existence, as stated by Rabindranath Tagore. The quote that we did in the class. Rabindranath Tagore. So eliminate all discrimination education, and education for what? Sustainable development and global citizenship, means more aware, broad-minded, inclusive, participatory set of people who can believe and live in harmony with all the existence as stated by Rabindranath Tagore. And that requires investment. And what are the methods of application? We already discussed in the class. Next is goal number 5, that is gender equality. To achieve gender equality and empower all women and girls, and we have discussed that in the issue of what? Women empowerment in detail. So means no more word on this. Now, next goal is clean water and sanitation. Now, clean water and sanitation. So now what is the requirement for maintaining good health? Access to clean water. What is the requirement for reducing drudgery and hard work for the women in the family? Access to clean water in the households. Now, for this, what to be promoted? Rainwater harvesting is one of the ways of accessing clean water. 5 water supply to households becomes important. For sanitation, programs like Swachh Bharat should be more efficient, so as to create more properly clean toilets. Yes. So hence, yes. So all these are the requirements. So now you can add on the 5 water supply, Jal Jeevan mission, you can add on rainwater harvesting, Amrit Sarovar mission, you can add on Swachh Bharat mission, you already are talking about. So all these things are required to be efficiently put in place. It should not be just a namesake or only on the paper. Yes, they require proper application. But what we are saying is the schemes are already there with respect to what? The requirements. So safe and affordable drinking water by 2030, achieve universal and equitable access to safe and affordable drinking water for all. Now, so safe drinking water, so is Jal Jeevan mission. And also you can add on Amrit Sarovar mission. Next is and open defecation. So open defecation free and provide access to sanitation and hygiene. So open defecation free, that means provision of toilets. Sanitation facility should be available not only in the households, but also in the communities and the streets. Okay, that means what we require? Community toilets also. Community toilets are also required. Now, next is improve water quality, wastewater treatment, and safe reuse. Wastewater treatment, safe reuse. That means improve water quality by reducing pollution and eliminate dumping. So what we are saying is our rivers are become the open drains. So what we require is proper effective waste management system so that the solid waste is not getting dumped into the water bodies. Also, the effluents coming from the hazardous industry should not be getting dumped directly. So what we require is again the actions against the action against the waste dumping of both types, solid and liquid. So what means, and then finally water treatment plants. Clean Ganga mission. So clean Ganga mission should not be only Ganga, but all the rivers. Yes, what we require is proper cleaning of the rivers. And cleaning of rivers is one side of the story, but the bigger side of the story is preventing more dumping into the water bodies. So hence increasing water use efficiency and ensure fresh water supplies. For water use efficiency, we have discussed various things in the water management topic. So if you remember, we have discussed various things with respect to water management topic. How to increase water use efficiency in the rural areas we discussed. We discussed in the urban areas of the household. We discussed in the industrial areas. So we talked about water use efficiency. So go back to your notes. We discussed that. Now implement integrated water resource management. So integrated means, what do you mean by integrated? Means collaborative. Yes, collaborative. That means country, So country should also be what agreeing for water sharing. So water sharing agreements. Water sharing agreements. So water sharing agreements. That means with the neighboring countries, there should be water sharing agreements. For example, Indus till date, Indus Water Treaty is the most stable treaty that India has done. 1960 Indus Water Treaty. But there's a one dispute going on with respect to what Teesta River. Okay, so Teesta, so that means there should be stable water sharing agreements. So here one of the stable example you can quote is Indus Water Treaty. Now, the same type of agreements is also required among the states also. But what we find, Kaveri water dispute between Karnataka and Tamil Nadu is a recurring theme. So here, so water sharing agreements, that is across the borders, that is with the neighboring countries, and also between states. Next comes protect and restore water related ecosystems. So water related ecosystem, that is mountains, forests. So that's why there's a requirement about national parks, so that the waters, forests are conserved. National parks, wildlife sanctuaries. That's why for conservation, the water, the forest, which act as a mechanism for maintaining the water cycle, conserving the water resources, maintaining the groundwater level, protecting various surface water bodies within them. Wetlands we are talking about, that's why we talk about Ramsar sites. Ramsar sites. River cleaning becomes important. Cleaning of the aquifers and lakes become important. And the most important thing is, until unless we involve the community itself everywhere, because whatever the actions that is taken from the top, whatever directions that have been given from the top, they will not be working until unless people understand and participate or involved in what taking responsibilities themselves. We want community social responsibility. Community should be taking responsibility about itself. So here, that's why we talked about Pani Panchayats. So Pani Panchayats at a local level. Yes, Pani Panchayats at local level become very important. So Pani Panchayats where the communities, so this Pani Panchayats here we can involve more women. Yes, Pani Panchayats, these can be headed by women. Because women are the biggest sufferers due to lack of scarcity of water in local areas. Or we can involve the best practices, community-driven practices. We discussed about Dr. Rajendra Singh. So we discussed about Dr. Rajendra Singh. Tarun Bharat Sangh. So that means wherever the best practices are there, locally should be promoted, either done by the people themselves or promoted by local level what community organization. Now, hence comes into picture. Now, so poverty, reducing poverty can improve the health. Better health will again prevent people falling into poverty. Better education will definitely help in what improving the potential to earn. Okay. Now, definitely hunger will be reduced by eliminating what poverty, by giving chance to people to educate themselves and earn. And then we talked about gender justice will be increasing. Ensuring sustained the health conditions, we require what quality water and sanitation. Now, next thing also required for health as well, what also benefits in terms of reducing the cost. Affordable and clean energy. First of all, transition from fossil fuel to green energy is required, yes, a big yes. And green energy, which can be solar, wind, hydro, ocean, biofuel, yes. That means more R&D is required to make them more affordable for installation and in terms of reducing the price of usage by the consumers. So requirement is universal access to modern energy, first of all. Access to modern energy is, so the biomass that is being burnt by the females in the rural households at least should be replaced by initial gas connections. That's why Ujjwala Yojana comes into picture. But what we are also finding is expensive rates of cylinders. So that again make it unaffordable. That again force people to go back to biomass or what? Biofuel wood. So that means we have to what? Ensure more cheaper supply. So gas connection, Ujjwala Yojana. So hence what you also require access to energy, that is we require a rural electrification. So first of all, the people should be getting access to what? Modern sources. Modern sources of what? Energy. Yes, Partha.
Sir, you just made a line about Ujjwala Yojana that the internet fluttered a
So
bit.
Ujjwala Yojana, yes, we require, yes, supply of gas cylinders, but we should also be making them cheap. Okay. If those cylinders are expensive, many of the households will not be able to afford. And that will again be forcing them to go back to biofuel. Right now. Okay,
Yeah,
so
thank you, sir.
So yes, so what the people require, so energy poverty should be reduced. So again, a term called energy poverty. Any form of disparity is a poverty. So poverty is a common term that we use: education poverty, health poverty, energy poverty is also a term. So you can use all these terms when you write. So that will be very attractive when you write. So energy poverty can be reduced by providing what? Accessibility to gas cylinders at a cheaper rate. Energy poverty can be reduced through rural electrification with more supply of electricity also. It's not simply the poles, it's not simply the wires, okay, but the availability of electricity should also be there. Now, gradually, so energy requirement will increase. Now, if you want to what? Reduce energy poverty, that means all will be using energy of different types, but that will be increasing energy consumption. Now, when the energy consumption is going to rise, what type of sources will now we be using in producing that energy? More green energy. Clear? So first of all, just a minute. So first of all, what is important is access is important. Second requirement is, now this energy requirement and distribution or production should be coming from more and more renewable energy for making sustainable for the planet and also for the health of the people. So increase global percentage of renewable energy. Now third requirement is, now first requirement is all should be getting access to energy, so hence reduce energy poverty. Now when the energy demand is going to increase, it should be coming more and more from renewable energy. Third requirement is, when we are going to produce energy, when we're going to use energy, when we're going to transport energy, all the things should be what? Having higher efficiency. So production of energy, then transport and distribution of energy, T&D, transport distribution, as well as what? Consumption of energy. Three things: production, second is transport and distribution, third consumption. Here the efficiency should be rising. So efficiency in production, efficiency in reducing transport and distribution loss, and third, consumption means people should be using energy saving what? Lighting systems, energy saving what? Maybe equipments for cooling systems, and also consciously switching off those gadgets which are no more required when they are not in the room. Yes, that awareness level should also be there to double the improvement in energy efficiency. Next is promote access to research, technology, and investment in clean energy. R&D is always required. Okay, so hence international cooperation is required, access to clean energy, research and technology, international cooperation is required. Yes. Okay, so that's why carbon credits, okay, assisting the developing countries with the funding by richer world is required more and more. Okay. Now, decent work and economic growth. Now, this is very, very important, decent work. Now, we are talking about decent work. So, sabji ka thela lagana, pakode tal lena, this is not a decent work. Yes, that is a majboori work. Yes? Okay, so that means we should be promoting employment by raising the skills of the people. Yes, we have got enormous people who have got graduation, degrees, post-graduation, PhD holders, engineers, but what they are not getting is a decent work and employment, and that has to be generated in the economy. And there are multiple of ways of what generating multiple of work if the policy making is correct, if this that policy making is very inclusive with respect to all these sectors and subsectors. We are discussing that in the topic of poverty, maybe from tomorrow onwards, how to generate work for the people. Goal 8 is decent work and economic growth. So what we require is a dignified livelihoods. Yes, we require dignified livelihoods, not just any livelihood which is forced, not just any livelihood which is a result of what not finding work, not just any livelihood which is the result of disguised employment. Labor welfare, that work should also be generating labor welfare. That means dignity, respect at the workplace, labor welfare. And yes, a form of economic growth which is inclusive, benefiting the agricultural side also, manufacturing side also, services side also, a balanced approach. And yes, what should be big no? Crony capitalism should be curtailed. So that we see, capitalism is good if it is moving towards welfare capitalism or competitive capitalism. For example, when there are multiple players in the field, it leads to competition. It improves the quality of products and services and also reduces the cost for the consumers. We all know when there's a monopoly, duopoly, quality also declines, cost also increase, or the consumers are not the beneficiaries. Competition can be created by creating multiple players, or competition can also be created by through a public sector unit versus a private sector also. For example, to give competition to Jio, revive BSNL. So if the BSNL is being revived with more 4G, 5G licenses, we know BSNL can offer lower what circle rates and cost rate for the mobile phones usage than the Jio. So that means Jio will be forced also to reduce the rates. Okay, that means what we are promoting is crony capitalism, not the competitive capitalism or welfare capitalism. So here, what we require is decent work and economic growth. So decent work is dignified livelihoods, and economic growth which should be balanced. We should be inclusive, and we should be creating competitors. We should be creating more competitors. Balanced, inclusive, creating more competitors. So hence the focus is on sustainable economic growth. So what type of average GDP growth that is required for coming out from what developing country status or least developed status to a high developing country or a developed status. So as for the sustained per capita economic growth in accordance with the at least 7% of GDP growth per annum in at least developed countries, least developed countries. And we have seen whether China was rising, when we see the certain Middle East, the Southeast Asian economies are rising. So they were clocking 7 to 8% GDP growth or even 10% growth per annum. So that is required of sustainable, but that required what? Very effective economic policies. Now, next requirement is we need to diversify. So diversify, that means diversification in all the segments. When you talk about agriculture, what is the diversification required is food processing. Food processing. Okay, creating more agri startups. Innovations and upgrade for economic productivity. So technological upgrading is required, innovation is required, and focus on high value added labor intensive sectors. So we will be talking about this. Labor intensive sectors is agriculture. Labor intensive sectors is, yes, agri startups. Labor intensive sector is MSME. Labor intensive sector is your sustainable tourism that is required. So what is the purpose? We are trying to create an economic growth. So let's read the word. Achieve higher level of economic productivity across different sectors and subsectors through diversification. For example, agriculture crop-based production toward non-crop diversification, creating agri startups. Okay, we are discussing that, and use more innovations through focus on high value additions and to labor intensive sectors. Yes, high value additions means enabling the sectors which are labor intensive so that they become ready for using of what higher technology, means increasing the adaptability with the requirement of acceptance and usage of higher technology so that they are also improving the quality of production and the volume of production. Yes, quality and volume of production. So adaptability with technology. Promote policies, support job creation and growing enterprises. That is job creation, that is livelihoods everywhere, plus entrepreneurship. That means we need to promote stable startups. We need to promote stable startups. Stable startups. Not the startups who have received our angel funding and finally eat the entire funding and finally quit. Yes, and escape. So that type of startups are not required. We require stable startups who can become what a bigger business over time, over a period of time, which can generate employment for the people, sustainable employment for the people. Improve resource efficiency in consumption and production. So what does this mean? This means that we need to promote a thing called circular economy. We need to promote a thing called circular economy, in which there's a concept of 4 Rs is also running: refuse, reduce, and then when the waste is being generated, again reconverted into raw material, hence improving resource efficiency. So the resources, if recycled more and more, can be reused again and again, will be improving the resource efficiency by preventing just use and throw consumption methods. By preventing use and throw consumption methods. Now, next comes full employment and decent work with equal pay. So we have discussed this in the issue of women empowerment. Yes, equal pay for equal work and decent working conditions which are required. Promote youth employment, education and training. What we are seeing is the concept of Agniveers. Yes. So we are not interested in what promoting employment, leakage of question papers, leakage of examination. Okay, that means we are discouraging the youth in terms of studying and finding employment. But what is actually required is youth employment is required by better education and training, and through regular examinations and creating more opportunities, skilling them more skill development centers, variety of skill courses which can be utilized in different areas of work. All these are required what sustainable youth development, because we are a country of huge demographic dividend, and until we use it, it will be becoming demographic disaster. So demographic dividend has to be channelized. Why? Because we have to channelize our demographic dividend. And a situation of demographic dividend comes only once in the lifetime of a growing nation. Demographic dividend. Now, okay. Now, next is end modern slavery, trafficking, and child labor. Now, what is modern slavery? Modern slavery, it is coming in the basis of the contract system of work. Contract system of work comes with no benefits. Contract system works come with no benefits. Modern day slavery.
So is it related to the exploitation of workers in the Gulf countries of Indian origin?
Uh, it is not simply related with the exploitation of the workers only in the Middle Eastern countries. All forms of contractual work is actually now being seen as a modern slavery because they does not provide or they do not provide any benefits. Yes, any benefits, and more work, more time, and finally lesser pay with no benefits. That is the issue. Yes, that is being now. For example, even the contractual soldiers which are being used by various armies across the world. Yes, okay. Now, contractual workers, starting from the Middle Eastern part, we were talking about that, but it is spreading across the world. Even fixed term employment system coming in the government also use and throw. So that should not be the way of work creating sustainable livelihoods. Now, further, so forced labor, debt bondage, commercial sexual exploitation, human trafficking, slavery-like practices at workplace, exploitation in children, all constitute modern day slavery. Next is protect labor rights and promote safe working environments. So labor rights we will do in the concept of what labor welfare, migrant welfare. We'll discuss various acts, and safe working environments will also be covered under that. Yes. Now, safe working environments, labor rights. So start with what? Wages. Okay. Fixing working hours. Just a hint, I'm talking about working hours. Okay. Okay. Work offs. Weekly offs should be there. Okay. Then labor law should be followed. So we'll talk about N number. Yes. N number, we'll talk about those. So as to create the safe working environments. Now, this is very important. What we are seeing is enormous haphazard cutting of the mountains have been done in our country by broadening the roads to, to many places in Uttarakhand or Himachal Pradesh, which is now facing the brunt of enormous landslides, okay, in the name of promoting what? Religious tourism. So what we have seen is enormous environment destruction. So here it is talking about promote beneficial sustainable tourism. Now, tourism is a very, very important sector for providing employment to all type of workforce, mostly skilled to semi-skilled. But that should not be at the cost of what is sustainability of the place. Okay? That's why I promote beneficial sustainable tourism. And universal access to banking, insurance, and financial services. So banking, insurance, financial services, we are talking about N number of things. Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana accounts we are talking about. Yes, you can be used for direct benefit transfers. Okay, it can be attached with insurance and pensions also. General saving accounts should be promoted more and more. That saving account should be generating what? Habit of savings also. SHG based approach, SHG based bank linkage we were talking about. So N number of ways are there for banking, insurance, and financial services. Now, so we have covered goal 8. Now let's talk about goal 9, industry, innovation, and infrastructure. So we have already entered fourth industrial revolution. So fourth industrial revolution, what is the meaning of this? Fourth. Yes, anyone? Fourth industrial revolution?
So the cyber kinetic system, as in not cyber kinetic system,
Okay.
as in
So use of more technology like AI we are talking about.
yes,
IoT, Internet of Things we are talking about. Yes, okay.
yeah,
Use of more technology, machine learning. Okay, where the production methods are now moving more towards technology usage. Okay, high-end technology we are talking about. The fourth
as in
industrial
sir, technology replicating human actions.
human
So
action, that
early,
is called AGI,
ye-
artificial
yes, sir.
general intelligence.
Yes, sir. Yes.
AGI. So that
So
means
how
what?
do we incorporate?
Pardon, pardon.
So how do we incorporate the use of AI when we are writing an answer regarding unemployment or
Aha.
eradication of unemployment?
So your answer will be solved in next 2 days. You will get your answer next 2 days. Clear? So tomorrow, that's why after opening up this, let's first of all complete all the goals. Then we talk about how to advance our economy in such a manner that all these sectors, subsectors, even which are labor intensive, which employ lesser skilled people, can also get adjusted with technology. We will be finding a way out. Okay? Now, first of all, let me give you hints at this moment and others also that first of all, see, we cannot prevent technology entry into any space now, yes, because technology has to enter. And when we talk about various economic dimensions, that means various sectors, subsectors, all the sectors and subsectors are not going to be immediately impacted by AI. They will be impacted, but not immediately impacted. Certain will be immediately impacted, and various will be getting more time to adjust with technology. And that time that we are going to adjust with technology has to utilize more so as to get those sectors and the workers ready to adjust with the influx of more technology. And which are those sectors and how to make them adjusted, we will be finding a way out. Okay, so adjustment, making sectors ready to adapt with technology. So this is the way, this is the thing that we need to work on. Adjustment with technology, and hence making sectors ready to adapt with technology. And for this has to be worked out. Next, what to be promoted? Innovations. Because innovations are key determinants of economic welfare and social well-being. So innovations are required for better industry productions, resource utilization, environment sustainability, lesser accidents of workplace, reducing the cost of production. So innovations can bring various effects and related infrastructure. So infrastructure can, starting from what the basic roads and connectivity, storage systems that we are talking about. Okay. So what is the meaning of social infrastructure here? Economic and social infrastructure with respect to workplaces. Social infrastructure can be in the form of participation.
Crash,
Huh?
crash for
Huh.
women to bring their children.
Okay, women, and even what creating SHGs so that they are also involved in production chain. Okay, or maybe the unions, yes, as a social infrastructure for welfare of the laborers, or we could
FPOs.
farmer groups, yes, farmer groups, which can again what social grouping for benefit economically, farmer groups, SHGs, unions, okay, trade federations, okay, all those. Now, develop sustainable, resilient, and inclusive infrastructure. Yes, sustainable and resilient and inclusive infrastructure. So, develop quality, reliable, sustainable, resilient infrastructure, including regional and transborder infrastructure to support economic development and human. So, transborder, we are talking about various things. For example, INSTC, we are talking about okay. India, Myanmar, Thailand highway, we are talking about. BCIM, we are talking about. BBIN, we are talking about. Bangladesh, Bhutan, India, Nepal, Bangladesh, China, India, Myanmar, Thailand trilateral highway. So we are talking about various talk about trans-border projects, infrastructure projects. Inclusive and sustainable industrialization. So sustainable industrialization, inclusive, first of all, more focus on what? Micro, small, and medium enterprises. Micro, small, and medium enterprises will make the production chain more inclusive. And double its share in what? Least developed country. There is the industry share of employment. So industry share. So most of the employment is being created by MSMEs. Overall industrial production manufacturing share. Again, our manufacturing policy talks about 25% of GDP should be coming from manufacturing. In this 25% of GDP, the share of MSME should be rising. The share of MSME should be rising. Further, increase access to financial services and markets. Financial services, again, we are talking about banks. That means credit facilities. That and can also be interest subsidy. Access to markets, yes. Markets facilitation can be now, most of the markets are now moving online, yes. So facilitating what are the access to online markets. Okay. That means for we need to also upgrade the digital literacy, how to use them. Upgrade all industries and infrastructure for sustainability. Yes, upgradation, that means adjusting with technology. Resource use efficiency, that is adoption of green energy. Again, making the sectors ready, how they're going to adjust with the green energy, because we know the green energy is expensive. For example, if there's a micro, small and medium enterprise producer, for the entire, as that person is not able to function at the maximum capacity of production because the demand is very, very less, then how you are going to ask that person to shift to a expensive energy, that means solar plants to be installed or solar energy to be done, until unless that company is able to earn well, until unless the demand is increasing in the economy, until unless the cash books are becoming better or the financials are becoming better for the company or the enterprise, that company will only be focusing on reducing the cost of production. Now, when the balance sheet is improving year on year, when the cash flow is increasing, then definitely the business wants to invest to earn more. Yes. So until unless the flow of the income is becoming regular, we cannot force various businesses, small and medium businesses, to adjust with what bigger technology or with what more green energy, because these are what cost that they cannot bear. So hence, kickstarting the economy, making the various businesses earn is the first necessary requirement. Income flow is necessary for further investment. So hence, upgrade or industry will be requiring income flow first. Next is enhancing research and upgrade industrial technology. Yes, research is the responsibility. R&D is the responsibility both the public funding and the private funding. And the private funding should be increased in what? Universities and the university labs. Yes, they should be providing direct funding to labs. They should be converting that into incubators. So private funding should be going to universities and labs. And this also comes within CSR, corporate social responsibility. Corporate social responsibility. Now, all these efforts, what we have done is, first is poverty, next is hunger, health, education, gender. Then we talked about what clean water and sanitation, energy we talked about, jobs we talked about, industry innovations we talked about. When you focus on all these basic building blocks, then they are bound to reduce the inequalities. So inequalities of all types will reduce: political, economic, and social. Yes. Now that will cut across all these divisions: gender, caste, race, abilities, regional, and international. So first, what will be reduced? Income inequalities will be reduced. Now this will be on the basis of when more livelihoods are being created, more people will be able to earn. More people earning will reduce to certain extent concentration of wealth, will lead to more fair distribution of incomes, and hence will reduce the inequalities. Otherwise, we read Oxfam reports that 1% of people commands 54% of the wealth of the country. Yes. So that means that requires what? Curtailing. And for that, if the guidelines are there in the Constitution of India, DPSP, Article 39, where we should be preventing concentration of wealth. So that means reduce income inequalities. It will now promote universal social, economic, and political inclusion. Now, gradually, when the people are socially empowered, economically empowered, political empowerment definitely happens, because those communities which are socially and economic empowered have now got more visibility and voice. They can speak up for their rights, and hence they will be having more say in the political affairs, more political participation. Ensure equal opportunities and end discrimination. More jobs being created, more work being created will lead to what? Opening up the sectors to different set of people, and which is the potential to what? Reduce the hold of one set of people over most of the economy and most of the work. Further, and this requires appropriate legislation, policies, and actions. Legislation, we started with what? Reservation system. We talked about reservation. The policies and actions supporting what? Gender parity at workplaces. Policies and action to what? Make the workplaces safe, so safe workplaces, so as to encourage participation of different sets of people. Next is adopt fiscal and social policies that promote equality. Now, fiscal policies. So, fiscal policy, for example, special policies for uplifting the MSME sector. So, special concessions which can be created especially for the small and medium businesses. Social protection policies, that is labor laws, and hence achieving greater equality. Then responsible and well-managed migration policies. Migration as a topic will again be understanding with respect to what? Forced migration, climate, which can be climate migration, or which can be disaster-based migration, which can be man-made violence based migration. We're doing that in detail, migration policies. And differential treatment for developing countries, especially with respect to WTO negotiations. Okay, that means India has to feed its people. So this means what? India should be given more leverage in terms of providing subsidies for production, which facilitate agriculture, food grain production in the country, and also its supply to the poorest of the poor. So that means a differential system should also be created in terms of negotiations. Further, goal number 11 is sustainable cities and communities. So that's why a term that we use regularly is now smart cities and smart villages. Smart cities and smart villages. So sustainable cities and communities. So yes, we require smart cities and smart villages. So first of all, within that, what is the first requirement? Safe and affordable housing. So yes, the programs like Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana becomes important. Awas Yojana can be divided into two parts: Awas Yojana urban and rural. Affordable housing, affordable and sustainable transportation system. That's why public transport system become important, because it becomes more inclusive, and which also addresses special needs of the vulnerable sections, not situations, sections, like women,
So one question.
children. Yes.
So should public transports be made free from an economical point of view?
Yes, they should be made free. In various countries, they are free.
Yes, sir, like that's what I'm asking. In the Scandinavian countries, even in Australia, I think it's for free.
Ah.
So, but the population is less.
Even we, no, see, it's not how you are going to make free. We have to what? Generate money in the economy first, now. Okay. So when we make something free, the so-called media project is a populist measure. But this is not a populist measure. It is being followed in major countries of the world. What the media is not telling the people is that this type of welfare policy should be supported by more income generated in the economy. More income generated in the economy is more tax benefit going to the government. And more tax benefit going to for the government is, that means more such schemes can be funded by the government itself. That is not being told. Okay. So government is supposed to bring welfare. Welfare can be of different types. If the government can provide what writing of NPAs of 15 lakh crore for big corporates, okay, and then nobody questions. Okay. But here, when something is provided free bus service to the women, that is being questioned. So this is actually an issue of presentation. Government is not supposed to earn profit. Yes. Government is supposed to raise revenue in such a manner that various benefits can be given to the people. And for that, there's enormous way of generating money in the economy. And that money, once generated, will lead to what wider tax base for the government, more flow of tax revenue. And for that, why that is required? For welfare of the people. So it's not a populist thing, because other countries also do the same thing. And we can also do that, provided we generate money in the economy. Now, next is inclusive and sustainable urbanization. Now, inclusive for whom? This has what? More inclusive facilities for women, more playing zones for the children. Person with disabilities should have what? Accommodated what? Buildings and transportations. Older person should have what? Places to what? Relax, community clubs. So we need to create sustainable, inclusive and sustainable urbanization. So women friendly, children friendly, person with disabled friendly, older people friendly, and yes, also low income people friendly by providing low cost housing, and also, yes, free of cost education and health services. Free education and health services. And health services. And also, such cities should also be promoting world's cultural and natural heritage. That means in various cities, there are what? Cultural, historical places, the tangible ones, and the natural also. Okay. Those should be preserved. Now, we have also discussed about what? World Cities Cultural Forum, WCCF, in terms of what? Preserving, promoting cultural interactions of the communities and societies. We have discussed that in the concept of culture of music, World Cities Cultural Forum. So all these reflect holistic development. All these reflect holistic development. Now, reduce the adverse effects of natural disasters, yes, on the communities and the cities. So what we need to improve? Disaster mitigation practices. Disaster mitigation. First of all, mitigate, reduce, and then in case of disaster, disaster management also. How to manage the disaster. Again, this will be discussed in the disaster topic. We'll discuss this in disaster management and mitigation practices. One more thing is reduce the, and in this there were case studies also being asked. Yes, disaster is there, how the governance system should be responding, how the community should be responding. Okay, what should be their role? So disaster. Now, reduce the environmental impact of cities. Now, environmental impact is, so they create pollution, that should be reduced. They are urban heat islands, that should be reduced. Okay, so they are energy guzzlers, that should be reduced. Yes, so that means pollution all forms: air, water, land, which includes waste disposals, the urban heat island effect, yes, and which by becoming energy guzzlers, okay, and creating more heat. And that means if we are talking about heat generated by the private vehicles, yes, so what we need to promote? Public transport. Okay. Again, creating what? Our urban areas, rainwater harvesting, as we discussed, which are the possible zones or areas, hence reducing water stress. Also provide access to safe and inclusive green and public spaces. This is a very, very important component of what? A relaxing urban life. Yes. Relaxing urban life. And yes, what we also require is a strong national and regional development planning. So yes, a country like India have got good planning on paper, but very poor in implementation. And implementation improves on the basis of what? Improving the governance methods, all stakeholder participation. So yes, we require national policies. So national policies, for example, we talk about national policies with respect to water conservation and usage is very, very important. How this can be done in agriculture, how this can be done in industrial areas. Okay. Then urban locations, villages. So we require a national level policy. And that national level policy should be implemented by the state governments by bringing the respective acts. Okay. So water conservation uses a national policy to be converted into what? State level acts. Further, what is required is now all stakeholder participation. So all stakeholder means, yes. So state level in coordination with national, now district administration involved, then panchayats involved, then community members involved, community organizations and members. So what clearly shows that until unless there is a coordination, until unless there is a uniformity, until unless there is a uniform way forward, things are difficult to implement. That's why we talk about stakeholder participation. Whenever we are talking about implementation of anything, two or three things become very, very important. First are the institutions. Yes. So three things always remember which become important in terms of implementation is, first of all, institutions. So institutions at all levels. Now, to run these institutions, what we require? Proper guidelines for coordination. Next thing that is required is stakeholders participation. They are also required for contribution also. And they are also required for monitoring also. Now, to implement anything, first of all, create guidelines, create proper institutions at all levels, invite stakeholders for cooperation and participation, also creating a monitoring and evaluation system. Then all the things will be implemented in a smooth manner. Now, various things I want to clear again. Now, see, first of all, see, India has got enormous capability to become a bigger economy like China. India has got all the capabilities. And they've got all the possible human resource and the mineral resource to ultimately convert that. What we require is proper policy guidelines and regular coordination and implementation. Now, in terms of inclusive economy growth, there's a requirement of what? Balancing the growth across all these sectors and subsectors. Now, balancing growth across all these sectors and subsectors is first of all the initial requirement to generate money in the economy, to make the sectors and companies, small businesses start moving, and also getting sustainable startups. Now, when the businesses are improving and increasing, so definitely they will be generating revenue also for themselves. They will also be providing employment, and they will also be adding to the taxes of the government. Now, that means when the economy starts moving, so tax revenue multiplies. Okay? Rather than creating new taxes again and again, to extract to loot from the pocket, which is called tax terrorism, what is actually required is creating the avenues for multiplication of the earning of the people And then the same taxes which are already there will be generating more revenue for the government. And once that has been in place, larger revenue pool will lead to more funding to the welfare measures. And then it becomes a cyclical exercise where the more revenue in the hand of the government is adding regularly to the welfare of the people, and more work created for the people, helping the people to earn on their own. So the people will also be investing in their own regular improvement of quality of life. And then it becomes a collaborative exercise. So more people earning, they invest in their own upliftment. More people earning, adding to the income of the government, tax income, and that tax income will again be keep on fueling the welfare of the people. So it becomes a collaborative exercise. So that type of model actually is required for Indian conditions. And that we are going to open up tomorrow also. Yes. Okay. So I hope till we have covered goal number 11. I hope now you can reconnect. Yes, all these are from talking about social justice, economic justice, environmental justice, political justice also. We are talking about all those. We will covering the remaining 6 goals tomorrow, followed by how to implement through poverty elevation now. Yes. So we'll discussing about the economic growth model, social justice, economic justice model tomorrow onwards. Now, any doubt with respect to what we discussed today, or everything is clear?
A much better understanding on this topic.
Much better in terms of what just mugging the 17 goals. Yes,
Yes.
17 goals, because now the only task that you have to undertake here is, as that is a normal exercise for me to only do that. Yes. So with respect to all the goals that you understood, so try to add the schemes of Government of India. Okay, schemes of Government of India, and you will be able to connect all the schemes, and you will be able to learn all those schemes also without again doing rote learning. So immediately we will do connect ki isse ye scheme thi, hai na? And that will be helping in what? So that's why what the classes are we doing? We are doing concept building classes in which facts become concept. है ना? So जब facts concept बन जाते हैं तो prelims भी easy हो जाता है. Otherwise prelims remain difficult because you see prelims only on the basis of facts only. So facts should be subsumed in the concept part. Yes.
So to find out scheme, will that be a manual task, or is there
And it's not for example, so for example, just type in the Google. Yes. Okay. The scheme, Government of India scheme related with respect to what? Sanitation. Yes. Okay. Or with what? Clean drinking water, or with what? Afforestation. Just add on. You'll get. Okay. So you'll get. Okay. So on this note, let's conclude class tomorrow. Today, sorry. Let's resume tomorrow. Resume tomorrow, same times. Thank you for participation. Be very, very regular in the class, because I also want regular attendance in the class. That motivates me to teach more, and will do well. I will also do well. So thank you for participation. Let's meet tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you,
sir.
sir.
Thank you.